More than 30,000 Houstonians are living with HIV, a virus that weakens your immune system. AIDS is the condition that happens when HIV goes untreated and your immune system is severely weakened. Although the number of people being diagnosed with the disease is slowing, every 8 hours, one person is diagnosed with HIV. Joining us live this morning to talk about World AIDS Day is Jeffrey Campbell, CEO of Allies in Hope. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good morning, Zach. Thank you for having me on in commemoration of this 35th annual World AIDS Day.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. With that, I want to start by having you elaborate on the difference between HIV and AIDS.
Great, I'll be glad to do that. So HIV, or the human immunodeficiency virus, it is a virus that can be transmitted from one human to the other via sexual encounter, also in the exchange of used needles for drug use, or in the case of mother to child transmission, particularly with breast milk. And I would also say that, there are sometimes accidents that happen in the hospital setting where hospital employees may get stuck by a needle that was used to provide some service to a person living with HIV. Those are very rare today, but that's it. So that's HIV. It's a virus. Once that virus gets in someone's body and it goes untreated for a significant period of time, the virus attacks the cells. It attacks the CD4 cells in the human body. As those cells are decreased, those are our immune cells. They help us fight. As those cells decrease, and we use a marker of about 200, if your cells get below 200 and you are living with HIV, then your diagnosis is advanced to what we now call HIV-3, or in the early days of this work, we called it AIDS. So that is basically the difference. AIDS is the syndrome, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, that is the result of untreated HIV.
And that's really great perspective. Also a reminder, too, that a person living with HIV will not necessarily be diagnosed with AIDS in their lifetime.
That is absolutely correct. We are in a space now where our medicine and science have allowed us to provide excellent treatment for persons living with HIV, and many people living with HIV today will never advance to an AIDS related diagnosis.
What is the life expectancy of someone living with HIV today in 2023?
So the life expectancy for a person living with HIV who is on treatment is, the best I can say is one word: normal. Individuals living with HIV who are on treatment and stay on treatment will live out the normal life expectancy of any other human being.
And what's amazing is it's taken us decades to get there, to be able to say just that, normal, but it's truly incredible to be able to say that today. With that said, looking back on the history of this disease, when was the first case of AIDS reported here in Houston?
So I had to take a look at that, but it goes back to 1981, and that diagnosis was made at what was then the Montrose Clinic, which is now Legacy Community Health Services. So 42 years ago.
Wow. Wow. People can protect themselves in so many ways today from HIV. Talk to us about the different ways people can be proactive.
Sure. So to be proactive, certainly if you're involved in any type of sexual relationship, the best thing, well, I'm going to say the best thing, PrEP. We have PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis. Comes in actual, you have two options. You can do a pill for PrEP, which is a once-a-day pill that is 99% effective in preventing a person that is negative for HIV from acquiring it. And also, we now have a medication that's given in shot form. And that shot form, over time, you end up taking that shot every 2 months or once every other month. So you get 6 shots in a year's period. And again, we're talking 99% reliability on preventing you from contracting HIV from a person living with HIV. And also there's condoms, a lot of folks, we go back and forth about the use of condoms, but while condoms does prevent HIV, it also prevents the transmission of other STIs like gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis.
And with this said, we talk about people living with HIV. They can look forward to a normal life. That's all thanks to different treatment those folks can receive. Talk to us about the different treatment options for people living with HIV.
Sure, that's a great question. So the primary treatment options are where we are now. We have single tablet regimens. So, 40 years ago or 35 years ago, individuals were taking these treatment cocktails, tons of pills a day. We are now down to a person living with HIV being able to take one pill a day, and that manages their HIV. I would also say that we also have an injection treatment, and that's very similar to that PrEP treatment. The injection is once every other month, and that helps both of those types of treatment help that individual living with HIV to manage the HIV and to keep their viral load suppressed. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about that. A suppressed viral load means that a person living with HIV cannot transmit that virus to another human being through sex. So we want to, for the person living with HIV, succeed by getting them to the place of viral suppression where they are unable to transmit the virus to another human being doing sex.
And Jeffrey, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the messaging there is undetectable equals untransmittable.
You're absolutely right. You equals you. Undetectable equals untransmittable. If your HIV status is undetectable by a blood test, that means you are not able to transmit, or you are untransmittable. You equals you.
Yeah. Before I let you go, really quick, I want to ask you two more questions. One, a little more personal. What does it mean to you to be able to stand where you are today, sit, what we're doing right now, we're sitting, to be able to talk about where we are, how far we've come in this fight? That's one question. And two, let's wrap this up by the services you offer through your organization.
Sure. So let me tell you, as the CEO of Allies in Hope, formerly AIDS Foundation Houston, it is a privilege and an honor to be able to sit in this space with you and talk about ending the epidemic in the greater Houston area. I've been doing this work for almost 25 years now, and I can tell you that's not what it looked like 25 years ago or 35 years ago during the first World AIDS Day commemoration. So it is exciting. I know that there is still work to do. I believe that we have the science we need. The things that we need to address now are the social determinants of health. Things like racism, poverty, lack of education, food deserts. Those are some critical things that really impact communities and create a risk in those communities for HIV transmission.
And hopefully having conversations like this today will help eradicate any stigmas associated with HIV and AIDS. Jeffrey Campbell with Allies in Hope, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning. We appreciate your time.
Sure. You're welcome. And Allies in Hope can be found at AIHHouston.org, AIHHouston.org for all of our services.